everyone, welcome to Kembali 2020, a Rebuild Bali Festival, a digital program designed to inspire, excite, reconnect, and revitalize the Balinese and Indonesian community from 29 October to 8 November 2020. Kembali, the Indonesian word for return or comeback, represents revitalization in the face of global challenges. The festival will unite people in Bali and Indonesia together with international audience at a time when travel is largely impossible and creating connections is more important than ever before. So I am Ade Putri Paramadita, and I'll be speaking with Chef Alke Plasmeyer and Chef Chris Salans. Before we start, I'm going to read the introductions about this great people. So Alke Plasmeyer is the founder of Lokabo Restaurant and has been working in the kitchen since he was 14 years old. He has worked his way up, eventually training at Amsterdam's Michelin-starred restaurants for Mer. In 2008, he was the head chef for Shy Rooftop Jakarta before moving to Bali and working at Alila Ubud. He has since opened his own restaurant. About Chris Salans. Chris Salans hailed from 3 Michelin-starred restaurants in France and the USA. His pioneering style of French cuisines meets Balinese flavors can be found at Spiced by Chris Salans and Ubud's award-winning Mosaic Restaurants Gastronomic. He is a dedicated mentor and one of Bali's top culinary ambassadors, representing Indonesia in media and at international food events. Okay, so the title of this main program is How Can F&B Businesses Survive COVID-19? As the world grapples with COVID-19, F&B businesses are strategizing how to survive. They are dealing with closures of services and borders, public health protocol, and consumer health concerns. These are likely to be followed by low consumer confidence, reduced disposable income, continued health concerns, and long-term reductions in travel. What can F&B businesses do to keep the money coming in? Join this season F&B professionals to find out. So, fellow chefs, thank you for making a time to share in this session in this main program. First of all, how are you, Alke?
Well, after listening to your introduction, I feel pretty depressed, to be honest. Oh, there were things in there I never even thought about. Travel was difficult words as well. No, I'm good. I'm great, actually. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, all good. Taking the good and the bad together and making the best out of it.
Okay. So we are all facing this unbelievable hard situation at the moment, but I believe the situation in every place is different. Maybe each of you can tell me more about what is happening in the F&B industry in Bali in general. Maybe Chris first, please.
Sure, if you'd like to. Hopefully Elke can shed more light on the things that I haven't thought about. Well, the situation is pretty bleak. It's pretty bad. First of all, borders have been closed since March, which means that there are almost no tourists coming in, which means that all businesses that were, depending on tourism, are suffering a lot, extremely. I mean, a lot of hotels are closed, a lot of restaurants are closed, a lot of businesses are for sale because they can't pay their debts or can't pay the bank, the loans. I mean, it's sad and it's bleak, as I said, it's dark. Then, as you mentioned, I mean, it's been going on since March. So, that's 6 months where a lot of people, a lot of Balinese, a lot of employees or ex-employees haven't had a job, haven't had any income. Even if you're a business owner, you haven't had any income, so your purchasing power goes down. So, maybe 6 months ago, you were willing to spend 500 on a meal, 500,000 rupiah on a meal. But today, to spend 80,000 rupiah on a meal becomes difficult. And as times go by, people have less and less money to spend on a meal. And a lot of people, to be honest, don't even have a meal every day. I mean, they have 1 meal a day. They don't have 3 meals a day. So the Balinese are growing hungry. But what does that mean for the industry? It also means that there's less purchasing power, and therefore possibly restaurants like Locavor and Mosaic, and basically any restaurant charging over 150,000 rupiah per person, can't function. An extremely limited amount of customers. So, I mean, I don't want to say too much. I just want to answer the question, but there's a lot more to be said, obviously. But that's the situation today. The purchasing power here in Bali is extremely low, and even popular businesses that were doing burgers at 90,000 rupiah are closing because 90,000 is just too much today in the market today.
Okay. But are you still open? Like Mosaic?
We are still open, yes, because the choice is either to close and send everybody home, which means, I had 100 plus employees. That means sending home 100 people, which is 100 more people in Bali who can't feed themselves, or staying open, trying to make some revenue in different ways. We can maybe discuss that later. And therefore, being able to pay somewhat of a salary so that my employees can somewhat have, at least something to eat every day. The company is running at a loss, so a little loss, a big loss doesn't really make a difference. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but I don't want to cry on live. And so, the decision is just human factor. We stay open to stay busy, to be able to pay a salary to the employees, and just to keep alive, survive. We call it the survival mode right now.
Okay. What about you, Elke?
Yeah, I think survival mode is the right term to put on this. Not so much related to the situation in Bali, but more the situation in the world. For me, and I think for Chris and everybody else who runs businesses, it's very hard to plan for anything because we don't know how long this is going to take. We don't know if it's going to be over in January or February or June or July or who knows. So if you can put a date on it and say, okay, in April everything is going to be okay again, then you can plan for it. But we can't. So I find it extremely hard to do anything long term. So it's the only thing we are doing is short term, is come up with things to, like Chris was saying, generate some revenue and keep things going. I think that the way Bali stands out from many other places in the world is that we are indeed a tourist destination, and I think 70 or 80% of the Balinese population gets some kind of income through tourism, and that is down the drain, obviously. Besides that, lots of people that live here left in March, April, and can't come back for all kind of reasons, including visas. There's just nobody to cook for. And I think that's a big difference if you compare it with a city like Jakarta or a big city anywhere in the world where there's always a population to feed and where there's always a more steady income because people don't rely that much on tourism. I think that sets Bali apart. There's other Balis in the world, right? There's more tourist destinations that have the same problem, even in this part of the world. But that makes it extra hard because there's simply nobody to cook for.
Yeah. So as I said before, the situations between Jakarta and Bali is like totally different. I mean, like we are all struggling, but in a different way because in Jakarta, all the restaurants owner been complaining about, because the government told us not to open for dine-in, and then of course the revenue is going super slow. And then for the second time, like last month, when we did like no dine-in, but the malls can be open. So for people, they're like, it means the restaurant in the malls had to be open. They had to pay the rent, but then no one came for dine-in. When it's just open for takeaway and deliveries, of course, nothing much because people nowadays, they cook at home, most likely. Or even in Jakarta, those who can't even really cook, they would sell their own cookings to some of the friends, families whatever, like in a super cheap price. So can you describe how F&B businesses was before the pandemic and how is it going right now? I mean, like, how busy was it before? Like early 2020, how was it? Chris, perhaps?
That's a funny question. That's going to make Elke even more depressed. January was the best January we've ever had. Seriously, I've never seen, I mean, I've been in operation 19 years and that was the best January ever. So very depressing when February came and they announced that there was a global pandemic and everything was gonna shut. But positive thinking, it gave us a little bit of cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
That influx of money in January helped businesses hold 2 months, 3 months, you know? So that's the positive way of looking at it. But yeah, I mean, you know, once all the borders or countries started locking down, then that was the end of it.
Okay. What about you, Elke?
Yeah, no. Again, we also had the best January we ever had. Even our Feb was still the best Feb we ever had. And then March was off to a good start. And then you know, yeah, the news came out. Maybe we were a bit slow to pick up on it. And then yeah, we decided to close midway March, I think. And the funny thing was there was nobody telling us to close. There was nobody really. There was no policy making anywhere. So we felt being on a tourist island with people coming through from all over, us being a tiny restaurant with lots of bodies in the kitchen, close from each other, it just wouldn't make sense to stay open. So we decided to close, which was extra strange because until the last day we had a full house. So we said, okay, from a full house, we went into a full shutdown because we thought that was the right thing to do. So that was really, it's just all very, very awkward and very, very strange. And then obviously everything else started to close down really fast. So I guess it was the right thing to do, but it was just very, yeah, it goes against nature of a restaurant owner, of a restaurateur to close a busy restaurant if there's no defects or anything. You know, there was nothing wrong with the restaurant. There was something wrong with the world outside of the restaurant, if you know what I mean. So that was very, very weird to do. And yeah, but then again, yeah, I don't know. It's just strange. It's very, but yeah. So going from a very good start of the year into complete shutdown is very unnatural.
Okay. So a few months ago, Lokavor came to Jakarta. Was it your way of like handling this thing? What was it? Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a restaurateur, you always have to think creative and think solutions instead of problems and all those cliches. But yeah, we went, the moment we shut, we came up with all kind of initiatives. We started doing veggie boxes like everybody else. We started doing deliveries, which didn't work at all. We're lucky that we have a few other businesses. We run a butcher shop, which is open. We have a little cafe that we closed for only a few months and then opened, and we still get people through there. But you know, it's nothing. We were on like 10% from what we did last year at the same period of time. So we obviously needed to do more. So we started doing all kind of events on the island, which were fun and which kept us busy and kept the staff busy, and you know, that was all good. But obviously it was peanuts compared to what we normally do. So to keep things going, to keep enough cash flow coming in to at least pay salaries, we needed to do something else. And you know, one is two. In Jakarta, there's people. In Bali, there's nobody or hardly anybody. So we said, okay, let's go where the people are and let's reach out to people we know in the big city and see if they kind enough to borrow the restaurant to us. And we found quite a few. So yeah, we picked up our bags and we went to Jakarta to cook there, which was great, which was good fun. And we had a full restaurant. That was a great feeling to cook for a full restaurant again. And then they decided to lock down Jakarta again. So we had to shut down everything. We had to pack our bags again and leave and postpone all the events we had planned. We had planned all the way until the end of the year. So there was tough because we felt we had a good momentum going. We had, we were excited. We were in the right, we had the right feeling back, and then that all stopped. But yeah, definitely we'll be back for more. Now Jakarta is open again. We started planning, and it looks like in November, December, and January we will be there again cooking, because it just makes sense.
Okay. So you told me before why you came to Jakarta, because there are more people to cook for rather than if you stay in Ubud, in Bali. What about you, Chris? You did anything? Have you been done anything or any plans?
Yes, I mean, I'm not unfortunately as young as Elke, and I also don't have two people. He's lucky; he has a partner. So for me to go to Jakarta is, I mean, it's an option, but I'd have to sacrifice my family. I'd have to sacrifice everything, and so it's not an option if you want. I think what we've done as much as possible is first of all to try to create an environment in which the employees and the guests feel as safe as possible when they enter our restaurant. So to create a COVID safe environment, hand gloves, masks, face shields, hand sanitizers, everything sanitizing between each guest, nothing on the table when the guests come in, so we've tried to use our reputation and our knowledge to create an environment in which guests feel safe to come to our restaurant. Then obviously we've, I wouldn't say we've lowered our prices, but we've worked on more reasonable menus using more reasonable ingredients, if you want, to try to make our prices a bit more attractive, and relying less on imported goods like foie gras and truffles and stuff like that. So still to offer an experience without having to spend as much. So that has allowed us to, build a certain clientele of regulars who come. It's not enough to pay the bills, but it pays some bills. Then we've started, like Elke said, we started doing delivery, if you want. Our delivery is a little bit different. It's we send a chef to your home and he cooks a meal for you, but he comes alone and he's got the face shield and the mask and the hand gloves and the hand sanitizer. And it's kind of like I don't want to call it catering, but it's a private chef service, basically, where a Mosaic chef will go to your house. Prices are between, let's say, around 200,000 rupiah net per person. So it's very reasonable compared to Mosaic. Yet again, as Elke said, it's limited. People who can spend 200,000 rupiah on a meal, unfortunately, we get 20 orders a week if we're lucky, But again, 20 orders a week compared to a restaurant that's doing 60 or 80 guests a day is still not enough, unfortunately. I guess I'm in a little bit of a luckier situation than Elke, for example, which is that Mosaic is 19 years old. It's been around for a long time. That means that it's a bit more of a state, it has more stability financially. Also, the landowner is my partner, so we don't pay rent. So it's easy for us to, we have enough money in the bank, to last 1 year, let's say. So for 1 year, we'll be okay. If we can sustain a certain minimum amount of business, then that means our cash flow, our ability to stay alive will last longer. I'm not, I'm like I said, I'm not as young as Elke. I'm not going to start climbing mountains to serve food. So I'm taking advantage of the situation to do other things that are not possible if we have fully packed restaurants that are, that demand our full attention. So I'm diversifying.
Okay. So how did you actually promote the stuff that you've been doing? Because it's different than what you had earlier in the restaurant. Now that you had it like a private chef going to people's houses, like how do you promote that?
Well, I mean, it's, you know, marketing, I believe, is the same everywhere. You've got social media, where you can, you know, make cool videos and cool photos and push with ads and put money on it to make sure that people see it. Then you give freebies to some influencers, right? Free dinners. When you launch, you host a lot of people, you know, influencers, and then they post about it or tell their friends about it. You host media who write about it. I mean, there's very little printed media nowadays, so it's all online. You know, we've got a database of, I don't know, I mean, we have a huge database worldwide, but we need to focus on people who are in Bali. So maybe we have a database of 2,000-3,000 people in Bali, customers in Bali. So we use that, we email them, we WhatsApp them. So it's about word of mouth and creating noise. But to be honest, it's extremely difficult. I mean, it's almost a battle that cannot be won, or it's one step forward, two step backwards. There are different ways of expressing it. But on the bright side is that, and a lot of people are realizing that now in Bali, is that whatever business you build now, if you start a business today, a new business today, when business does come back, you'll be on top because you have been alive, you've been making noise, you're building your brand. And as soon as business comes back, people are like, oh, I know that place, I know that brand. A lot of businesses have decided to close. And those businesses who've decided to close, and I won't mention any, but when business does come back, people will have in their mind that that business is closed. And those people are going to need a huge amount of money to refurbish and maintain, rebuild the team. They're going to have to rehire, reset the standards. So for the businesses who have closed, they're at a huge disadvantage. They're saving money, but in the end, they will spend more money to reopen. People like Elke and myself, we're suffering now, but hopefully when things do come back, and we don't know when that is, we'll hopefully be on top because we are still active. We're in people's minds. People are still reading about us, hearing about us. Our staff is there. We're trained. We're ready for anything.
Okay. Very nice, Chris. What about you, Elke? Like, what about from your side? Maybe tell me more about the programs you've been doing.
Yeah, no, I enjoy listening to Chris. I'm not much of a thinker. He obviously thinks about things more than me and Ray, my partner, do. Yeah, it makes sense what he said. Yeah, we've been active, we've been open, we've been operating, and yes, people notice that. So, it's a nice. I say that it's a nice feeling to know that I think everybody knows it will come back, right? Everybody knows that we all just win of just killing time with whatever we do at the moment, because that's what it is, really, killing time, surviving, and trying to keep everybody employed and on the payroll. That's all we are doing. So that's all we are planning for at the moment. Including going to Jakarta, including doing all this collabs we did, and we are going to do. It's all just like now we're doing for our Indonesian restaurant called Sementara. We're doing a 5 weekends a pop-up somewhere in a hotel here in Ubud. It's just if we make it to the end of it, it's another month gone, right? Another month we survived and we saw through. And that's really how I see it at the moment. It's on a positive note. I mean, I thought Chris was going in that direction, but then he didn't. We did indeed have so much more time than we would ever have or had, right? I mean, as a cook, as a chef, your life is in a kitchen, and especially if you like Chris and a little bit like ourselves, like me and Ray, we have more than one restaurant. So you're extremely busy. Either you're cooking service, either you doing all the things that comes with running a restaurant, either you're traveling, cooking somewhere else. So the last couple of years have been super hectic. And me, as well as Chris, as well as Ray, we all have families, and they all suffered over the years. If you're a wife of a chef or a husband of a chef wife, or however you want to call it, you don't go to see him or her a lot. And that changed drastically the moment we shut down a restaurant, right? We're going to get so much time to spend with the wife and with the kids, which is amazing, which is something I never had before. So that's also a thing about this whole situation. It's very mixed, right? I mean, business-wise, it's totally shit. Right? Let's say it like that. I can't put it any better. But personally, it's been great. I've been at home. I've been doing homework with my sons. I've been cooking for them. It's great. And to see that going again later when things come back, it's already. I'm not prepared for that at all, I think. So it's a very mixed feeling I'm having here. Like, yes, the whole island, the whole world is suffering, and our income is down the drain, and we're working very hard to fix that. But on the other side, it's beautiful. Bali is beautiful as well. Chris can for sure will say the same thing. It's empty. There's no traffic. The beaches are beautiful. It's green. It's amazing. It's the best time to come to Bali, if you can. So it's all not answering any of your questions. Me just saying something. It's so mixed. It's all weird. It's just weird.
Okay. So I'll just repeat my question, so you won't get mixed up. Like, what have you been doing? So you just told me like you had a weekend pop up in a hotels.
Yeah, I think. There's a few restaurants, including Chris's restaurants and us, and a few other that have been really active. That stayed open for the same reasons Chris mentioned before, and all those restaurants have been cooking together, doing events. We did pop-ups on the beach. We used our food truck. We did barbecues. Ray dressed up as a clown. No, I'm kidding. We did everything to make things happen. But it's all. I don't know how I say it in English, but it's all peanuts compared to what it normally is. So it's just killing time. For us, the only thing that really is a bit of a lifeline is going to a big city like Jakarta and going cook there. So that's what we are planning for. And I don't feel that young. I think Chris does look younger than me, but that's a different story. But yes, we are lucky that it's the two of us in the kitchen, so we can divide and conquer. So one stays here to keep local for open in Ubud. The other ones go to Jakarta, or we both go to Jakarta. We are a tiny restaurant, so it's very easy for us to make quick decisions and to be flexible. And I think you need to be ultra flexible at the moment. So if we say, okay, let's go and cook in Jakarta, a month later we make it work. Because we can make those quick decisions, and we're lucky that we have a few friends in Jakarta that helped us setting this up, and that really is I would say until second quarter next year that really is our concept to be there as much as possible and to cook any of our concepts in any kind of restaurant in Jakarta.
Mm-hmm. So how are you dealing with the restrictions and policy in Jakarta? Like, I don't know, because I heard from some friends that in Bali, it's not necessarily that you have to wear masks. It's not necessarily that you have to wear gloves to serve, to whatever, to have the hand sanitizers. Everything's just like different. How are you dealing with that? Was it actually okay for you, or is it something new?
Well, the restrictions or the policies are very unclear, but I think like what Chris at Mosaic did, he made his own policies. He went online, or he called his friends who are not in the country, who are in a country that has policies, and he just put those in place. He implemented the policies of a country that has a bit of a policy in the first place. Sorry, so yes, we wear a mask in the kitchen and in the front of house. We wear gloves as much as possible. We have bottles of, I call it disinfection, coming out of my ears almost. They're everywhere. We temperature check people. All those cliches we have in place, not because somebody tells us to do it, but just because it's everybody else is doing it. And so going to Jakarta, maybe it was a bit more I think it's more your guests that much more cautious in Jakarta than they are in Bali, because in Bali, yeah, people go out, life is outside, right? People live outside much more than they are in Jakarta. So I think that was the biggest difference, that people are, really trying to keep a distance, really not shaking your hand, really, that's awkward for 1 or 2 days, and then you settle in, and it becomes second nature. Right? I mean, we always, follow what our guests want. That's sort of what a restaurant is about. So if that's what they want, well, we give them that. So I only find cooking with a mask on very difficult. But that's me personally. It's hard to obviously taste things. It's hard to communicate with your team. It's hard to give them facial expressions when you're angry and you can't yell and those kind of things. So I find that personally very hard. I'm not sure about Chris, but no, I mean, it's, and when we were in Jakarta, we cooked in a hotel, and especially hotels have very strong SOPs, and we just follow them, right? They give their kitchen, their restaurant to us. Of course, we're gonna do what they tell us to do. Period.
Yeah. So a funny story. So Chris, I just had a collaboration with Nusantara, which I had to cook in the hotel kitchen, and then we had to wear a mask. And when I was like showing, this is how to make the cookings, this is the recipe and everything, I tried to, just mask, like plenty of times. It's just like,
it doesn't happen only once. It will happen again and again and again. Yes.
Yes. Until after a while during the shooting, I just like, okay, I don't have to try this. Let me just finish it, and then later, like, taste it later. So, the more question about the social, I mean, like how you communicate the programs through social media and everything. Like, do you already hire people to handle that, or you hire more people or pay someone else just to take care of this? Because it's different than the one you normally do. Chris?
It's a combination of everything. So obviously, we can't spend as much money as we used to on doing social media. But to be successful in social media, you need to have a very strong image, and you need professional photography and professional videography. If you do average stuff, you're only going to get average results. So unfortunately, yes, we do have to spend some money on photography, videography, getting things to look good. Then just posting and creating audiences and advertising, we can do ourselves. So it's a combination. We need to outsource the professionalism, and then we can do the actual posting and things like that. You can also work on Google. There's a lot done on Google, advertisements on Google. I don't know in Jakarta. I mean, in Bali, TripAdvisor is obviously kind of dead, but there are also online, platforms such as I think it's Zomato, TripAdvisor, etc. I'm probably forgetting a few. So there's a lot that can be done online, digitally, that influences people towards your restaurant versus others. But those are not for regulars. I mean, you can't get a regular and fool him to go to your place instead of his favorite place. But it works to find new customers and influence. Donald Trump is doing that a lot right now to get more people to vote for him. So it's the same thing, basically, is the politics of the F&B industry.
Yes, I agree. What about you, Elko?
Well, unfortunately, we are Ray and I are a bit Asian, so we're not really social media kind of boys. We do have Instagram and all the other things for the restaurant, and actually I'm the one who's doing it with some help nowadays. But yeah, it's hard because normally we focus on the world outside of Bali, the world outside of Indonesia, much more. Yes, we get Indonesian guests through the restaurants. Also, pre-corona and everything, but it might be 10% of our guests. So, and honestly, the good thing about Bali, you don't really have to worry about getting guests through. Before all this happened, obviously, we never really focused on anything PR or marketing related. We just had fun with Instagram. We posted funny pictures and new dishes and things we care and we care about and like to believe other people care about as well. And that worked all really well. I stopped looking at TripAdvisor many years ago because it made me also very depressed. But yeah, so it's this making the switch from focusing purely domestic, purely Bali. What I found it really hard. We a little bit lucky that we have some other businesses, like we have our butcher shop and we have so that caters completely for people that live on the island. I know there's no tourist who comes and buy a steak and brings it back to their own country, right? That would be weird. But so we had a bit of a network through the shop, so we used that to reach out to people. We worked with if we do events, you can always cross promote it, right? So say we do an event with friends who own a hotel, and so they sell it from their side, we sell it from our side, so we both bring in some guests. So it's, but we know social media specialists or marketing specialists, so it's hard to make that switch and push the button you never pushed before. So yeah, we're struggling there. We really do.
Okay.
Don't worry too much about it, is my advice.
Yeah, no, I don't. I do and I don't, because now it's. I'm not going to say it's a matter of life and death, but it's it's you want to be noticed. You need to be noticed nowadays. People need to know you're open. People need to know what you are doing. Otherwise, yeah, forget about it. Even more than, and before this was never a worry, because we just cooked and kept the head down and cooked for a busy restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. So that changed a lot. So I don't worry about it too much, but it is important.
It is, yeah, actually. Yeah, so I also find how some people in the business industry, especially in Jakarta, they try to send blast WhatsApp messages to all the customers, reminding the customers that, hey, we're still open. Hey, we have this special menu with special price or something. But I told them everything's different. Everything changes. So you can't actually do the blasting message anymore. You have to actually send it one by one, like a personal message saying it's from you, because people respect you as a chef, owner, or whatever. And then it's different when it's your staff sending them messages. Hello, we have 50% discount off this and that. And when it's you guys saying, hi, how are you? First, all the customers would love to hear, oh, thank you, we're doing good. How about you? And then start selling. You know what? We actually have this private chefs can go to your house, and then this kind of things, because sometimes what makes people say yes. Of course, it's not easy. I talked to Ray, your partner, and he said should I do it one by one? Yes, especially in Jakarta. Can you imagine? In Jakarta, we have plenty of restaurants, and then we receive all these messages through WhatsApp, emails, Instagram DMs. Everything's just hey, come to our restaurant, buy our products. But when you, the owner, sends just a message saying hi, the people would feel special. That might gonna work, even though it's wow, super stressing work. You guys should be working on the foods, not on marketing side normally, right? But then everything's just different.
Yeah, like you said, normally, yes. Normally we just have our heads down cooking, and I like to believe I'm better in that than sending WhatsApp messages. But I can't agree more. And I do always like to believe that keeping it personal is a good thing. So I always send we always send our own email. If it's coming from me, or Ray or Rihanna, our restaurant manager. But yeah, I think even more now, people wanted to be personal. They wanted to come from you. But I think it always has been like that. I think people like to go to a restaurant where they know who's cooking. So if you go to Mosaic, you know Chris is there. If you go to Local, you know me or Ray is there, or both of us.
Yes.
And I think then there's a higher, how you say that, it's people like you to do well more than when there is somebody cooking and people opening restaurants all the time. And I like to believe that restaurants owned by people who are actually operational active or cooking or serving or whatever are doing better than restaurants that are owned by somebody who sits and drinks at the bar and tells people what to do. So I think it's always good to keep it personal. There's nothing wrong with sitting at the bar and drinking, but do that after work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of the bars, like you guys have specialized cocktails at your restaurants, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So in Jakarta, lately they feel like selling the bottled cocktails. Have you been doing that, or do you have any plans to do that, Chris?
We tried. We did it. Yeah. Cocktails to go. But and I believe Elke did it as well. He'll tell you afterwards. But you're selling 20 cocktails a week if you're lucky, maybe 6 a week. So it's difficult to turn on an AC, turn on 10 refrigerators, a juicer, blender, mixer, pay 5 staff to come in when you're going to sell 1 million rupiah a month. So eventually we had to stop, because you need, in these times of survival, you need to be very selective in what you do. You need to make sure that everything you do will have no loss, no wastage, right? It's got to be as 100% tight as possible, so that you make sure that you're maximizing or minimizing. I mean, you're maximizing revenue or effectivity, and you're minimizing any kind of expense, wastage, and things like that. So we tried the cocktail thing. It didn't work. Time to try something else.
Okay.
But if you want a cocktail sent in a bottle, we can still do it. We still have the bottles and we still have the bartenders. It's just not something that we push, if you want. It's still available, but we don't spend our marketing money on it.
Okay. Do you send it to Jakarta?
I can, but I don't guarantee that it'll be fresh when it gets there, though.
Yeah, totally. Okay, what about you, Elke?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we did this or not. I think for sure we did. I think we did everything.
Night Rooster did it.
Correct. Yeah.
In the beginning. Yeah.
He knows better?
Well, he's got too many businesses. I have less now, so I drink his cocktails while he's working hard.
Our bar is run by Raka, and he's very capable of coming up with his own initiatives. So he did, obviously. But it's very important to focus, and we were not very strong at that in the beginning. We did everything. We did veggie boxes and takeaway, and obviously cocktails, and some other things, and some worked, and some didn't. And the things that worked we kept, or we kept longer than the things that didn't work, obviously. Like our veggie boxes. So the moment we shut down our restaurant, we realized that all our farmers and all our growers, they were growing fast. We were planning for the new menu to start somewhere in what was it again? In June, I think. So they were growing fast, and then us shutting down the restaurant really, we killing their business. With everything they had planned, everything they had on their land, was going down the drain. So. And it was very selfish not to think about it at first. I thought about ourselves. I think, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to shut the restaurant, make sure everybody's safe, everybody goes home and stays home. And then a few days after, say, shit, what about all our farmers? So we came up very quickly with veggie boxes. So we reached out to them and say, hey guys, what do you have? What is good? And we put it together, and we made boxes for like a single, a double, and a family. And we start selling those twice a week, and that went really well. We did 100. 100 each delivery, because people stayed inside. They were not very comfortable going out to a supermarket or wherever to go shopping. But that changed after a few months. Everybody sort of got used to the new situation, and people started going out again. So the numbers started going down, and we only killed it yesterday, that initiative. But that was something that, well, it was not a revenue-driven initiative. It was more idea to help the guys that have been helping us over the years to get rid of their produce. But that was something that worked definitely better than those cocktails. But yeah, it is important to stay focused and come up with ideas that actually work. But because it's all out of our comfort zones, right? We've been all cooking, running restaurants that were busy anyway, and now we had to come up with all kind of other things. So it was a bit panic mode, and I think after a month we realized what worked and what didn't, and focus on the things that worked. For sure, that was the same for Chris. I mean, you need time to adjust to the new situation, and some people are faster than others, but still.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't answer your question.
I know. That's why I keep on laughing.
Yeah, I'm terrible. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. It was pleasing to listen to you, so it's okay.
Yeah, at least I managed that then.
Okay, so I just want to share about what's been happening in Jakarta as well. So some of the restaurants started to sell their foods through online apps like Gojek, Grab, whatever, like the GoFood. So people can actually order through those apps. And it worked, but not for all, because they have to apply and it won't be fast to get featured on the apps. So since I know you guys are not doing the casual, how do I say it? Casual foods, like a day-to-day foods, it's something special. It's not like something to be delivered through Gojek. What do you think about the food delivery service?
Chris.
I'll first.
Chris?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll before he forgot my question.
Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, Elke goes first. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think that Locavor and a Mosaic are a restaurant that made for takeaway or delivery. So we never thought about doing that. You can obviously adjust your menus to make it available, to make it suitable for delivery. We always did delivery through our Locavor to go, our little casual cafe where we do burgers and sandwiches. So we had that restaurant already registered on Grab and Gojek and all the other guys. So we tried to do the same thing for our Indonesian restaurant, Sementara. And indeed, like you said, it was such a pain to go through that process. And I was so frustrated with them not understanding that there was an urgency there. And of course, they have to follow their whatever policies to get you through the process. But it took them a month. And then when we were finally online, I already decided not to do it anymore. But yeah, I think especially for delivery, for takeaway food, it needs to be the right kind of food. You can't put everything in a box and expect it to come to your plate in the right condition. But a burger and a nice Reuben or a nice Cubano sandwich, yeah, that definitely travels well. And we only do Ubud, right? So if it's like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive, yeah, it will arrive at your place still nice and warm. But I think that's why Chris is doing his delivery a little bit different, and I find that a very smart idea. But he better talks about it himself, I guess.
Well, first, before I talk about that, I'll tell you that interestingly enough, when Spice by Chris Salence was on Gojek, I wanted to test it, right? So here I am living in Sanur, and I search Spice by Chris Salence. It doesn't pop up. So I go on the map. We're registered. I go on the map and I go to Ubud and I click on Spice by Chris Salence and said, sorry, it is too far from your location. Oh. So anyways, even if you have Gojek, for a restaurant in Ubud, they won't deliver outside of Ubud. And Ubud is 10-15 minutes, so why bother give 20% to Gojek if you just have one of your staff on a motorbike to deliver? So unfortunately, in the Ubud area, I don't think Gojek or Grab are useful for us. And like Elke said, he and his staff deliver for free in the Ubud area. That's we all do that. And I think something that's important is also the purchasing power. As I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, In the beginning, people could spend 150 to 200,000 on a meal, no problem. Today, again, I don't want to mention any businesses, but businesses that are selling meals at 80,000 rupiah are going bankrupt. They're closing. Yeah, whether they're in Brawa, Canggu, Seminyak, Sanur, Ubud, wherever they are, they're closing because people are running out of money, and you don't have the volume. It doesn't, you got to pay for rent, you got to put the equipment in, you got to pay the staffing, the electricity, the phone bills, the packaging, the gas for delivery. It just doesn't make sense because it's a game of volume, right? You make profit on volume, and there is no volume to be made. So it's tough. And Elke is right. Going to Jakarta, Surabaya, I mean, going outside of Bali to big cities is where the money still is and can be done. But what was your question? I forgot your question. Now it's my turn.
Yeah, I was just asking about the possibility of getting the foods delivered to through the Gojek
Okay. So it doesn't work for Ubud. And like I said, Elke would have to tell us on his locavore to go, but has he noticed in the last 6 months that revenue has been going down, or has revenue been actually fairly consistent? That I would be interested in knowing that, because what I've heard from other businesses is that, yeah, there's less and less money around, and therefore, even if you're selling, you got to sell things at 50,000 and below. That's the market today in Bali. And it's an extremely competitive market where the refrigerators of Locavore and Mosaic don't have ingredients that we can cook, at that price, unfortunately.
Okay.
Well, to answer your question, Chris, I think when we shut all our restaurants except our butcher shop March, April, and we reopened in May. Our to go opened in May. And then we did indeed see an increase of revenue in deliveries, and not so much dine in, but that's now has been changed back. So now it's more dine in, and if we have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 deliveries a day, it's a lot. So it's also not our main, although it's called to go, it's not our main concept. We are a little cafe where people can have a coffee and a beer and a burger. But it did switch from there was delivery over dine-in, and now it's back to dine-in over delivery. But again, we're talking about nothing here. If a busy day now would have been an extremely quiet day in a normal situation. So it's the same everywhere. It doesn't matter what you do.
That's right.
But we on purpose we decided to keep our prices the same in all our outlets. So also in Locavore we started with a new tasting menu, which is called Pancaroba, but we kept it the same price as pre-corona. The same thing for our to go and for our butcher shop. We just reopened, said let's keep things what they used to be, and I guess people understand that we do need their support, and I felt about giving additional discounts. I don't know. It's hard, and I think everybody has a personal opinion about it. And we decided to do this, and Chris decided to do that, and others decided to do something else. I think it doesn't. In the end, it doesn't really matter. It's what it is. But the market is in, like Chris said a few times, is indeed getting much more. Things have to be cheap. If people are, and again, it just leads back to what I said earlier. We don't know when this ends. If we had a hard deadline to work towards if you say in April it's got to be fine, then people can plan for it, but nobody can. We can't, but our guests can't either. So it's extremely hard. I think that makes it extremely hard.
Okay. So do you have anything to say to people outside of Bali, probably to go to Bali or whatever, before we end the session? So, well, I'll go first before you forget, please.
No, I'll forget then. That's not fair. No.
Yeah, you go first.
No, but yeah, I want to go first because Elke said something wonderful earlier. He said,
Okay.
right now is the best time to come to Bali. And I have to say, I said it, I kind of mentioned it a couple of times. I'm kind of enjoying Bali right now because, I mean, I arrived here in 1995, and Bali today is more beautiful than in 1995. There is no traffic. There is much, much less garbage. You can actually see through the water in Kuta to the bottom. You never used to be able to. So, you know, hotels are closing. They're not dumping their sewage into the ocean. There are less tourists, so there's less plastic everywhere. So no traffic. You can get places quickly. No queues. So, you know, you talk about social distancing. If you go to the right places in Bali, it's actually very easy to social distance because there aren't that many guests. So it's very enjoyable. Bali is green. Bali is blue. Bali is beautiful. And it's true that if you can come and visit now, it's a great time to come. It's also going to help Elke and myself with our businesses. So please do come. But more importantly, I think it's not so much, and I sorry for saying this, Elke, it's not so much the businesses, because it is a business, therefore it is made to make money, but it's the people. The people of Bali are suffering. You know, Elke and I are stressed out and we can't sleep, but the people of Bali can't eat. And I think to try to get tourism to come here and to spend some money on, you know, diving, hotels, restaurants, it helps to support the economy of Bali, the people of Bali who get to go home with a meal at least once a day. And I think that's the crisis. The real crisis is how the people of Bali are suffering. Because as we said earlier, the nature of Bali is doing great. So the karma there is fine, but it's the people that we need to worry about. And that's why Elke and I are still in business, is because we don't want to send them home. We want them to be able to go home and feed their families. And I think that's where Please Come to Bali comes in place. Yes, it's beautiful, but also Bali needs your support.
Okay.
Sorry, Elke. There's not much to say after that. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say exactly that. Hard stop there.
It's the same?
No, I think I was exactly planning to say what Chris said. Nothing add to that. It's yeah, it's what it is. That's exactly. And I think you can see other countries on purpose keeping their borders closed. Maybe Australia is a good example of. So people stay there. Of course, there's other reasons that are being talked about, but so they spend their money in their own, you know, where they are from, and that will help a lot. So I think Indonesia, if they, you know, they could, I don't know if they're doing it. I stopped looking at it, but if they could be of a, you know, they could help Bali, because I think Bali is the destination within Indonesia that relies on tourism the most. Yeah, you can't send people somewhere, I understand, but they could well, if they said what Chris just said, I think that would help.
Okay, thank you. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the session. I really enjoyed this. I hope people can take something from our conversation. So thank you so much. Let me close this session. Kembali 20 was made possible with the support of the Yayasan Mudra Swari Swaraswati Patron Program and their donors. The Patron Program was created to seek assistance for the survival of both festivals and the foundations. By making a valuable contributions to the Yayasan Patron Program, you will be directly involved in delivering both festivals in due time. Your contribution will be guaranteed the future of Indonesia's most meaningful cross-cultural platform of words, ideas, culture, and the creative arts. Follow at Ubud Writers Festival on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or visit ubudwritersfestival.com for more information about the Patron Program. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. I hope to see you guys soon in Bali.